Everyone feared the woman who lived in this house, not because she shouted, but because she smiled while destroying lives. Behind closed doors, the fiancée of a powerful business mogul played with people like chess pieces. One wrong move and careers vanished. Families collapsed. No apologies, no mercy. Then one morning, a quiet new maid walked through the servants' entrance. She didn't argue. She didn't complain. She cleaned. She listened. She remembered. What no one knew was this: the woman they ignored had already lost everything to the lady of the house. And she didn't come to beg. She came to collect. The Sterling mansion did not feel like a home. It felt like a monument to power, built to intimidate rather than comfort, with polished marble floors that reflected faces like mirrors and walls so white they made every shadow look guilty. Every person who worked there moved carefully, as if the air itself could report them. Conversations were low. Footsteps were light. Fear lived comfortably in every corner. Isabella Sterling loved it that way. She stood in the master bedroom that morning, wrapped in a silk robe the color of champagne, staring at her reflection as two stylists adjusted her hair and makeup. Outside the tall windows, the city stretched endlessly. Glass towers and traffic far below, all of it belonging, directly or indirectly, to the man she would soon marry. "Careful," Isabella said softly, her voice smooth but sharp beneath the sweetness. "If you burn me, I will remember." The stylist's hands trembled slightly as she apologized, her fingers moving faster, more carefully. Isabella watched the fear register in the mirror and smiled, slow and satisfied. Fear was honesty. Fear never lied. Downstairs, a young accountant stood in the living room clutching a thin folder to his chest. His name was Daniel, and sweat darkened the collar of his shirt despite the cold air pouring from the ceiling vents. He had been summoned without explanation. A message delivered the night before by Isabella's assistant: "Come immediately. Do not be late." Isabella descended the staircase like a queen arriving at court, each step deliberate, her robe flowing behind her. She did not greet him. She did not sit. She circled him slowly, examining him as one might inspect damaged goods. "You approved the payment," she said at last, her tone conversational. "Without my consent." Daniel swallowed. "Ma'am, the invoice came marked urgent. It was within the—" She raised a hand, silencing him instantly. "I don't care about procedures," Isabella said. "I care about obedience." She took the folder from his hands and flipped it open, already knowing what was inside. The mistake was small, almost invisible, but Isabella enjoyed the art of destruction far more than its necessity. "You see," she continued calmly, "people like you believe mistakes are forgivable, that they come with explanations, apologies." She closed the folder and smiled at him. "They don't, they come with consequences." Daniel's voice cracked as he begged quietly, desperately, promising it would never happen again. Isabella listened, head tilted slightly as if appreciating music. When he finished, she nodded once. "You're fired," she said, "and by the end of today, no firm in this city will hire you. I've already made the calls." His knees weakened. "Please, I have a family." Isabella leaned closer, her smile widening. "Then you should have been more careful." She turned away, already done with him, and waved her hand. Security appeared instantly to escort him out. As his footsteps faded, Isabella exhaled contentedly, like someone stretching after a good workout. Ruining lives did not exhaust her. It energized her. By noon, the household was buzzing with preparation. Isabella's engagement party was only weeks away, and everything had to be perfect. Florists moved in and out. Designers delivered samples. Assistants ran with tablets and phones, whispering updates and approvals. And then quietly, without announcement, the new maid arrived. Her name was Amara. She stood just inside the servants' entrance, holding a small suitcase and a neatly folded uniform over her arm. She was dressed plainly, hair pulled back simply, face calm but observant. Her eyes moved slowly, taking everything in: the layout of the house, the positions of the cameras, the way staff avoided certain hallways. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Collins, barely looked at her as she spoke. "You clean. You listen. You don't ask questions. And most importantly, you do not draw attention." Amara nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Her voice was soft, respectful, perfectly forgettable. She was assigned to the East Wing first, the area closest to Isabella's private spaces. Mrs. Collins hesitated for just a second before making that decision, then dismissed the thought. New maids were harmless. They always were. As Amara wiped marble counters and dusted glass shelves, she worked with quiet efficiency, never rushing, never lingering. Her reflection appeared and disappeared in mirrored surfaces, a ghost moving through wealth that was not hers. From the hallway, Isabella's laughter floated out light, musical and cruel underneath. Amara paused briefly, her hand tightening around the cloth before relaxing again. She continued cleaning, her expression unchanged. Later, Isabella stormed into the hallway, furious about a misplaced dress delivery. Staff scattered instantly, heads lowered. Amara stepped aside with everyone else, eyes down, body still. As Isabella passed, her gaze flicked briefly toward the maid, registering her presence for half a second before dismissing it entirely. Amara was invisible, exactly as planned. That evening, after the house settled into uneasy quiet, Amara was assigned to clean the private study. The room smelled of leather and expensive wood, lined with shelves of contracts, awards, and framed magazine covers praising Isabella's brilliance and philanthropy. Amara dusted carefully, her eyes scanning titles, names, dates. She opened drawers only when instructed, memorizing what lay inside without touching anything unnecessary. On the desk sat a framed photo of Isabella and her fiancé, smiling flawlessly at a charity gala. Amara picked it up just for a moment, studying Isabella's face closely. The confidence, the arrogance, the absolute certainty of being untouchable. A memory surfaced, different walls, a different life, a different kind of fear. A knock on a door years ago. A phone call that changed everything. A woman who laughed while signing papers that destroyed someone else's future. Amara set the photo back exactly where it was. She finished cleaning, turned off the lights, and stepped out into the hallway, blending once again into the background of the house. No one noticed her leave the room. No one suspected a thing. But as she walked back to the servants' quarters, Amara allowed herself the smallest smile. The game had begun. Morning returned to the Sterling mansion with the soft cruelty of routine. Sunlight spilled through glass walls and reflected off marble floors, making the house glow with a cold, expensive beauty that hid nothing and protected no one. Staff moved with practiced silence, already aware that Isabella Sterling's mood had shifted overnight, which meant someone would pay for it before the day was over. Amara woke before the bell, dressed before anyone else, and stood for a moment in the narrow servants' room, breathing slowly. The house had its own rhythm, and she was learning it. Which doors creaked, which hallways echoed, which hours belonged to silence and which to danger. Knowledge was safety, knowledge was power. Downstairs, Isabella sat at the long dining table, scrolling through her phone as a carefully arranged breakfast cooled in front of her. Her fiancé was away on business, which made the house feel smaller, sharper. Without an audience to perform for, Isabella allowed herself to be less charming and more honest. "Where is the almond milk?" she asked without looking up. A maid rushed forward. "I'm so sorry, ma'am." "The delivery—" Isabella lifted her eyes slowly. The maid froze. "Do not explain," Isabella said, her voice calm but lethal. "Fix it." The maid fled toward the kitchen, nearly colliding with Amara, who was carrying a tray of fresh linens. Amara stepped aside smoothly, lowering her head. Isabella noticed her this time, not because Amara had done anything wrong, but because Isabella enjoyed studying new faces, measuring how long it would take before fear reshaped them. "You," Isabella said. "What's your name?" Amara met her gaze briefly, just long enough to appear respectful but not bold. "Amara, ma'am," Isabella hummed. "You're new." "Yes, ma'am." "Good," Isabella said. "New people are still useful." She returned to her phone, already bored. Amara walked away, her step steady, her expression blank. Inside, she was counting. Every word, every glance, every weakness. Later that morning, Isabella prepared for a luncheon with investors' wives, women who smiled too hard and competed quietly. The house buzzed with tension as staff polished surfaces that were already spotless and adjusted details no one else would ever notice. Amara was assigned to assist in the dressing room. She helped lay out jewelry, folded fabric, and stood silently while Isabella criticized the fit of a dress that cost more than Amara had earned in a year. "This color makes me look ordinary," Isabella snapped. The stylist murmured apologies, hands shaking. Amara watched carefully, memorizing Isabella's habits. The way she insulted without raising her voice. The way she waited for reactions. the way she fed on discomfort. As Isabella changed, her phone buzzed repeatedly on the vanity. Messages appeared on the screen, lighting up with names and fragments of conversations. Amara never stared directly, but reflections were generous. Glass surfaces did not keep secrets. "Cancel the meeting," Isabella said suddenly. "And tell Martin I want that report rewritten. If he can't manage that, I'll find someone who can." The assistant nodded frantically. Amara noted the name, Martin. Another thread. By afternoon, the house exhaled as Isabella left for her luncheon. Staff relaxed slightly, voices rising just enough to sound human again. Amara returned to cleaning, moving room to room, unseen and unremarkable. In the west corridor, she overheard two assistants whispering near the supply closet. "She destroyed him," one said. "Completely." "Who?" "That lawyer. The one who tried to pull out of the deal. His firm dropped him this morning." Amara paused just long enough to listen. Her back turned, her hands busy. Names surfaced. Timelines aligned. Patterns became clear. Isabella did not act randomly. She targeted precisely, striking where damage would echo the longest. That evening, Isabella returned in a foul mood. The luncheon had not gone as planned. One woman had dared to challenge her suggestion. Another had laughed at the wrong moment. Isabella's patience had thinned dangerously. Dinner was tense. Plates were returned for minor imperfections. A glass was replaced because the water temperature was not exact. No one spoke unless spoken to. When Amara entered with fresh napkins, Isabella's gaze snapped toward her. "Stand there," Isabella said abruptly. Amara froze. Isabella studied her openly now, eyes narrowing slightly. "You don't flinch." "I beg your pardon, ma'am?" "When I raise my voice," Isabella continued. "When others panic. You don't." Amara lowered her eyes. "I try to do my work well." Isabella smiled, slow and thoughtful. "Interesting." She waved her hand dismissively. "Go." Amara walked away, heart steady, steps measured. She had passed another test without appearing to notice one existed. That night, the mansion fell into uneasy sleep. In the servants' quarters, lights went out early. Exhaustion claimed most of the staff quickly. But Amara remained awake, sitting on her narrow bed, listening. At precisely 11:42, Isabella's bedroom door opened. Footsteps moved down the hall. A private call, perhaps. A habit Amara had already noted. She waited several minutes, then rose quietly, slipping into the hallway. The house was dark but familiar now. She moved with certainty, avoiding cameras, counting steps. In the study, Isabella's laptop sat on the desk, closed but not locked. Amara did not touch it. Instead, she opened a drawer beneath, retrieving a slim notebook she had seen earlier that week. Inside were handwritten notes, numbers, initials. The kind of record powerful people kept when they believed no one would ever read it. Amara photographed each page quickly, precisely, then returned the notebook exactly as it was. Before leaving, her eyes fell on the framed engagement photo again. She stared at it longer this time, her reflection overlapping Isabella's face in the glass. "You don't remember me," Amara whispered softly to no one. "But you will." She slipped back to her room without sound, the images safely stored, the threads tightening quietly, around the woman who believed she controlled everything. The Sterling mansion woke to celebration. White flowers filled the entrance hall, their scent heavy and expensive, climbing the staircase in soft waves. Designers moved with sharp urgency, adjusting fabrics and lighting, while assistants checked lists and timelines with nervous precision. The engagement gala would begin that evening, an event meant to seal Isabella Sterling's place not just as a fiancée, but as a future queen of the city's business elite. Isabella stood at the center of it all, calm and radiant, dressed in a tailored ivory outfit that made her look untouchable. Every mirror confirmed what she already believed. She had won. The past was buried. The present was obedient. The future was hers. Amara watched from the edges, carrying trays, straightening decor, blending perfectly into the background. No one questioned her presence anymore. She had become part of the house's furniture, as expected and ignored as the walls themselves. By mid-morning, Isabella's phone began vibrating more often than usual. She dismissed the first few calls with irritation, assuming incompetence or overreaction. When the fourth call came, she answered sharply. "What is it now?" Her expression shifted. Just slightly. Enough for Amara to notice from across the room. Isabella turned away, lowering her voice. That's impossible. I approved everything. She listened longer this time, her jaw tightening. When she ended the call, she stared at the screen as if it had betrayed her. "Mrs. Collins," she snapped. "Get my assistant, now." In the study, tension thickened. Files were pulled up. Emails were reread. Isabella paced slowly, heels clicking against the floor. "Someone leaked internal documents," the assistant said, voice trembling. "Private transactions. Side agreements. They've reached 3 board members already." Isabella laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "Then trace the leak and destroy whoever did it." The assistant hesitated. "They're asking questions, ma'am." "Legal questions." Across the hall, Amara polished a silver tray, listening as doors opened and closed, as voices rose and fell. The first domino had fallen exactly on time. By afternoon, the story broke. A financial journalist published an exposé detailing unethical deals linked directly to Isabella's influence. Names appeared. Dates aligned. Victims spoke. Former employees. Silenced partners. People whose lives had been dismantled quietly, efficiently for her convenience. Guests began canceling, one by one, politely at first. Then urgently. Isabella's phone rang without pause. Her smile vanished. The house felt smaller, louder, unstable. "This is sabotage," she told her fiancé over the phone, her voice tight. "Someone is framing me." There was a pause. A long one. "They're showing evidence," he said carefully. "I need time." The word landed like a slap. Time was what Isabella had never needed. Time was what other people begged for. By evening, the gala had not been canceled, but it had been wounded. The guest list was thinner. The atmosphere was strained. Cameras flashed anyway because scandal was still valuable. Isabella descended the staircase in a stunning gown. Every inch composed, every movement controlled. Applause greeted her, but it lacked warmth. Whispers followed her steps. As she reached the center of the room, a large screen behind her flickered to life. At first, it displayed images from her charities. Smiling faces, applause, carefully curated kindness. Isabella relaxed slightly. Then the images changed. Documents appeared, contracts, email chains, handwritten notes. Her handwriting. A murmur rippled through the room. Isabella turned sharply. "What is this?" The screen continued, showing testimonies, recorded statements, timelines. Faces of people she had destroyed filled the room, one after another. Gasps replaced whispers. "This is a lie!" Isabella shouted, her voice cracking as control slipped for the first time. "Turn it off." But no one moved. At the back of the room, Amara stepped forward. She removed her gloves slowly, deliberately, and placed the tray she was holding onto a table. The crowd parted instinctively, drawn by something they could not yet name. "I wouldn't," Amara said calmly. "It's almost finished." Isabella stared at her, recognition flickering too late. "You," Isabella breathed. "Who are you?" Amara met her gaze fully now, no longer lowering her eyes. "Someone you forgot. But you ruined." Silence swallowed the room. Amara continued, her voice steady, clear, carrying easily. "You treated people like toys. You believed money erased consequences. But every action leaves a trail. You just never thought anyone would follow it." She gestured toward the screen. "These are the lives you broke. Not mistakes, choices." Isabella backed away, shaking her head. "You planned this." "Yes," Amara said. "Carefully, quietly, the way you taught me." Security hesitated. Cameras turned. The truth had weight now. Isabella's fiancé stepped forward slowly, his face unreadable. "Is this true?" Isabella opened her mouth, but no words came. The answer was already written everywhere. As authorities entered the room, murmurs turned into judgment. Isabella's empire collapsed not with fire, but with exposure. Amara watched as Isabella was led away. Her perfect image shattered, her power stripped bare. Later that night, the mansion stood silent again. Amara packed her small suitcase. Before leaving, she placed a single envelope on the study desk. Inside was a note. "Power without mercy is borrowed, and borrowed things are always reclaimed." She walked out without looking back. The house would remember her, even if no one ever spoke her name again.